I lived in a house for a little more than a year, and our landlords... What is up, guys? I'm back. Have you guys ever rented a property, whether it's a house or apartment, and had landlords, and maybe they were good and maybe they were bad? I lived in this house with a couple of my friends, and the landlords we had at this house, they were super nice. The only thing was that they did not speak a lick of English, and that was pretty difficult. We rented this house because there was a 2-story house with like 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and it had a big yard, and we were like, this is awesome. And it was right in the middle of town, and it was a pretty good price. It was a little expensive, but we could afford it. From the outside, this house looked really nice, like kind of just typical California type house. It had a big driveway and a big garage. The inside was nice. It was all hardwood floors, brand new remodeled kitchen, nice bathrooms, nice bedrooms. Everything looked really nice, and we just thought, wow, this is a really good deal. Let's not pass it up. So we rented this property, and at first it was really cool. It was fun to invite people over and watch movies and cook dinners and just hang out. We had some parties, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. After a little bit of time living in this house, we eventually figured out why it was the price it was. In this house, we had clogged drain after clogged drain and cracked leaking ceilings and leaking refrigerators. And on top of all of that, we literally lived on an alley where people were doing meth. It was kind of weird. They had like their own little club over there too, and they started like building a fort. And a couple times they would hop the fence and run around our yard and like hide in the bushes, and we're like, this is kind of sketchy. Eventually, I think the cops came and pushed them out. Like I said, the bedrooms were pretty nice. My room was cool. It was right on the corner. It had 2 windows, which, you know, I love natural sunlight. But one of the windows was broken, which, you know, isn't that big of a deal. But in California, you want to have your windows open because it's nice weather and you want like a natural breeze coming in. But this window was bent like this. You know, you could close the window. It was like a 2-layered window, if that makes sense. It was like an outdoor glass and then an inside glass. I think you're supposed to like replace that glass with like a screen or something, which, you know, could have happened, but it didn't. If that window was open, literally cockroaches crawled through the hole into my room. So that happened once, and I freaking closed that window, and it never opened back up for the entire year and a half that I lived there. Now that I've described the house and some of the things that were wrong with it, like I said, these landlords did not speak any English, and it is law in California. I'm not sure if it's law in other states, but it's law in California that if landlords are going to come to the property, they need to inform you that they're coming, and I think it might be like a day in advance, but they should let you know that they're coming, even if it's the day of, just enough time that you can kind of like clean things up a little bit and just kind of prepare and not be shocked when there's somebody walking around in your yard. But they would come like once or twice a month, and we would just be hanging out, and all of a sudden out of the corner of our eye, we'd just see someone walking around in our yard, and we'd freak out. And sometimes they'd come at like 9 o'clock at night when it's dark out, and we didn't have any lights out in the back, so that's kind of like scary. And they just wouldn't say anything. They would just come and then leave and be out in the backyard for like an hour, and it would take a while for us to figure out that it was actually them. You know, we didn't do bad things, but on top of that, we just didn't know if like they would come by and see something that maybe they weren't okay with, and they would tell us to leave or something. So giving us that heads up would have been really nice, but they just like didn't do it, and I think it was because we could not communicate. Anytime there was an issue like a pipe burst or a pipe was clogged or it was leaking, and we would call them, we'd have to talk to their daughter because she spoke like a little bit of English, and she would tell her dad, the landlord, and he would come, and I would try to explain things, and he just like did not get it. And eventually I would just kind of have to point at things and say like, this is what's happening, kind of. And sometimes he figured it out a little bit, and he would, you know, do something, and it usually didn't really fix it. They didn't really like to like pay plumbers or have people come and professionally fix things. They wanted to do it themselves, and maybe it was because they didn't want to deal with other people that there was like a language barrier with. So because these pipes would always leak, we started getting like cracked ceilings, and like water would drip, and you know when like the paint starts to ripple. And then also for some reason our refrigerator would like leak all over the floor, and we didn't really know that the leaking was really damaging anything other than just getting on the tile floor. And we would pull the refrigerator forward and clean all that up. But then one day we noticed that there was like a little bit of mold like on the inside of one of our cabinets where all of our dishes were. So we decided like we're gonna pull the dishes out and like clean everything, and we realized that literally the entire inside of these drawers was just coated in mold, and we were like, that is so gross. And we ended up cleaning all of it, but then we were like, yo, we need to call the landlord. This is disgusting. They need to come fix this because we don't know what type of mold that is, and that's probably not good to be around pots and pans that we're using to eat, and who knows where else that mold is spreading. So overall, we tried to take care of the place as best as we can, but things like pipes and things leaking, like that was kind of out of our control. And as a landlord, that's kind of their property because we didn't really do anything to break it in the first place. So one time they show up at the house with their daughter, because like I said, she could speak a little bit of English. She showed up with all of these fines, and we're like, what the heck are these fines? And she's showing them to us, and she's saying, this fine is because the palm trees haven't been trimmed, and it's hanging over into the street, and like I guess that's you need to trim your palm trees. This is because like trash is visible, which it wasn't really visible. We had a fence going around our house and it was kind of to the side of our house, but I guess like from angles you could see our trash bins, and I guess they need to be like hidden from the front of your house. So I guess that was our fault, but we didn't really know that was a thing. And then she was like, this fine is because there are like visible weeds in the front of your house. Like that's a thing. Like there's like, what the heck? Like why is it's a plant? Like it's not even that big of a plant. Like why? I see people's houses that look ratchet as heck, and I don't think people fine them for having a ratchet ass looking house. Why are they gonna fine us for having weeds growing in the front yard? Like what the heck? It ended up being like over a couple $1,000s, where it was like, these fines you need to pay, and we were like, whoa, those are not our fines. Like we'll take care of the trash and we'll, you know, pick some weeds if that's what you want, but you should have told us off in the beginning. We had no idea that like weeds will give us a fine. The tree, on the other hand, that is not our responsibility. The tree is part of your property. They're your trees. Like we're renting the property, but we don't have to pay to manicure your trees. And if they did want us to do that, they should have told us in the very beginning, like, hey, a part of renting this property is you have to manicure our trees and pull weeds and make sure your trash is not visible. But they didn't say any of this, and probably because they didn't speak in English, and probably they didn't even know until they got these fines. So that was kind of crappy that they dumped it all on us. We ended up not paying it. We ended up telling them like, no, that's not our problem. And they were like, okay, we'll pay it this time. And we're like, okay, well, we ain't paying it next time either. There was another time where we had this storm and a tree that was in their yard in the very back, it was a small one, broke and fell and was hanging over into someone else's yard. You know, we called them, we told them, hey, like a tree fell down in your backyard, like what should we do? Do we need to call somebody? Because the thing had just happened with the palm trees, and we were like, trying to be responsible, being like, what should we do? They ended up coming, and I kid you not, they took the garden hose from the side of our house, tied it around the tree. The lady was up in the tree and the husband was down on the ground, and they were trying to pull the tree upright with a garden hose. They did not get the tree upright, so they ended up sawing it into small pieces and just leaving it in the yard, and then they left it like that for like 5 months and would not come and pick it up. So yeah, maybe these landlords weren't as crazy. I'm sure there's people out there who have had landlords who have like set up cameras and spied on them and have done some really creepy stuff, but it was pretty annoying to have landlords show up unannounced very frequently and just kind of like walk into our house, walk into our yard while we're just like watching TV, and it would freak us out. And it was really hard to have landlords that you really couldn't communicate with. I'm not sure if you guys have ever had a crazy landlord, any experience kind of similar like this. If you do, leave a comment down below because I enjoy reading your guys' comments. Hit that like button if you have had crazy landlords. Don't forget to subscribe for daily videos. You won't want to miss out. From Bella and I, until next time, guys. Peace!